Hi friends! History class was always such a bugaboo. I'm able to look back at it now and realize that it was actually super interesting, and I wish I cared more about it, but there were just so many dates and names and locations that you had to memorize that it made it difficult to enjoy. Finally in college, I realized how to study for this type of class, and many of you will watch this and think, duh, but I want to share some of those tips and tricks with all of you. Tip number 1. Many of you may have already watched my How I Study with Flashcards video, but in that, I talk about how I use the process of making flashcards as a part of my studying, as well as a few other tricks like the association trick. I'm going to link that video down below if you are interested, but making flashcards to memorize important dates, locations, or people was always my go-to when it came to studying. It is my favorite. Plus, you can do color coding and other little tricks to help you remember those important details. Tip number 2, history is all about dates and how one event connects to the next, etc., etc. But there can be a lot of information between the lines, so creating a mind map is a great way to see how everything connects. Plus, if you are a visual learner, like myself, you can color code the mind map to represent different time periods, locations, and people. It's totally up to you. Creating a mind map might be a bit of trial and error, but just make sure it follows some sort of chronological order so that it's easy for you to memorize when it comes to studying. Tip number 3. When taking notes in class, it can be hard to decide what to write and what not to write because everything seems to be important facts in history. My first tip is to read all reading assignments that are given. If you have a good idea of what the chapter is about, it will be easier when it comes to lecture to pull out information that wasn't covered in your reading. Sometimes you'll be lucky and your professor will specifically state this is important, but sometimes professors will not do this. So once you come home after a lecture, you will want to rewrite your notes or do what I was talking about in my last tip, which is to create a mind map. You want to make sure that this information is fresh in your mind, and it will sometimes help you understand the material better. Tip number 4. Many history exams have you writing an essay about an event, or you have to give your interpretation about a certain time. These can be hard. They were never my favorite, but some professors will give you a hint of what those topics will be on. Some will not. Just be aware when in lecture to listen carefully to see the topics they give more weight to. When it comes to studying, find out if you can what type of essay question it is. Is it an interpretation, a description of an event? What's it gonna be? Then create an outline and decide what you would write about. What I will usually do at this point is then go and time myself and write out my answer and see how long that would take me. Of course, the question might vary, so you'll have to adjust your answer, but creating an outline will definitely help you know important details about an event so you can adjust and you will succeed. Tip number 5 is to talk about it. The best way to remember information is to talk to others about what you are learning. History can be fascinating, so spark up a conversation with your parents or friends and ask them if they knew fill in the blank. Or you can talk to your cat, which is what I do. But talking out loud and teaching someone the material is one of my favorite ways to memorize. So I think my biggest tip for any of the videos that I do is to take your thoughts of this is hard or this is boring and change them to this is a challenge, but I will succeed. Changing your mindset and attitude will really help you conquer these sometimes difficult subjects. If you have any tips, please leave them down below for everyone else. But I want to say thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.